that you burnt this bridge, I think I got a little burning to do myself.
Meet Jake Crist. A 20-year journeyman, Jake has wrestled all over the US for promotions such as Impact Wrestling, where he won their X Division and tag team titles, ROH, MLW, where he's currently signed, in various independent promotions such as CZW, and the main promotion of discussion for this video, IWA Mid-South, where he would wrestle for years and would win both their World Heavyweight and Junior Heavyweight Championships simultaneously during the pandemic. But of course, with Ian Rotten doing typical Ian Rotten things, Jake would not receive payment for 4 weeks, and he had finally had enough. And what he would do in retaliation is what we are going to be covering in today's video. If you do enjoy this video and you want to see more videos about the random stuff that comes to my brain in regards to pro wrestling, be sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. With that being said, let's get right into it. For those who aren't familiar with Jake Crist, he began wrestling in 2003 with his brother Dave under the ring names Crazy J and Lotus, respectively. He would tag with Dave for 17 years, having a ton of success on the independent tag team scene as part of a team known as Irish Airborne, winning tag team gold in CZW, the Heartland Wrestling Association, International Wrestling Cartel, and even Juggalo Championship Wrestling, where he would win their titles 5 times. He would also be a part of the Ohio is for Killers stable, or OI4K for short, which would consist of various wrestlers from Ohio and would exist throughout multiple promotions. Jake and Dave would make their debuts for TNA/Impact Wrestling in July of 2017 under the tag name Ohio vs. Everything, or OVE for short, where they would win the tag titles versus LAX, where they would have a series of very solid tag matches that I do recommend if you have the time. During this time, they would introduce Sami Callihan, who had been a part of the group during its previous incarnations throughout the independent circuit. Personally, this stable was one of my favorite parts of Impact programming throughout the late 2010s, but I'm not going to delve into all that right now, maybe at a later date. They would lose the titles back to LAX in 2018 and would spend the next few years with Dave helping Callihan in his singles efforts. During this time, he would win the X Division title in 2019 from Rich Swann and hold it for about 3 months. Eventually, the group would turn on each other and they would disband in 2020. He would then join a stable with Rob Van Dam and Joey Ryan known as Cancel Culture, which I kind of view as a more modern equivalent of Right to Censor. This stable would not last long, however, as Joey Ryan would be named during the Speaking Out movement in 2020 for multiple sexual misconduct allegations and would be released from Impact shortly thereafter. This affected a lot of wrestlers all over the industry, including Jake's brother and longtime tag partner Dave, who would get released following his own set of allegations on top of being an overall dickhead in the Impact locker room. Following the dissolution of Cancel Culture, Jake departed Impact. Jake would work all over the independent scene following his departure from Impact in promotions like Wrestling Revolver, OVW, and IWA Mid-South, with whom he would wrestle on a consistent basis up to this point since 2017 and sporadically before that. The relationship he had with Ian Rotten, the promotion's founder and owner, was pretty professional for the most part, considering the less than optimal reputation Ian and the company had amongst wrestlers and overall within the industry. Jake would win the World Heavyweight Championship and the Junior Heavyweight Championship 3 times each throughout his time and seemed to be content enough with his efforts for the promotion. However, as with every story involving Ian Rotten, the relationship would go sour, and here is why. The following information comes from Jake himself on a podcast interview he took around 2 years ago. When Jake started wrestling for IWA Mid-South, he told Rotten directly that he was aware of Ian's reputation, but he didn't care as long as Ian didn't fuck him over. From what I understand, it was pretty smooth for the most part, and Jake shockingly never got screwed out of pay from Ian, who would pay him on time or would ask for a couple of days to be able to give him the money, and he would do just that. There were even times where Ian would try to give Jake the money, and Jake would tell him to split his pay for that show with some of the wrestlers so Jake could just have a couple extra bucks. This relationship would be pretty mutually beneficial for both men until Ian did what he always does, meaning that he screwed yet another thing up. Ian owed Jake about $600 for an appearance Jake made in Chicago for Mid-South in something called a Deadly Tables match. Ian had asked Jake for a little bit of time to get the money over to him, with Jake obliging because up to this point, Ian had done pretty well with paying Jake his money. Weeks would go by where Jake would message Ian periodically asking if he could expect his money soon, and Ian would constantly give some sort of bullshit excuse as to why he couldn't, like there was a problem with Western Union or something along those lines. One day, about 4 weeks after the event, Jake messaged Ian early in the morning about the money to no response. He messaged him one more time in the afternoon to see if he would send it and gave a warning that if he didn't receive payment by 5 p.m., shit essentially was going to go down. Around 5:02 p.m., he would call his wife to see if the money hit his PayPal, to which she declined, and at that moment, shit went down.
Ian Rotten, I've given you 3.5, almost 4 weeks now. It's probably been 4 weeks! I've given you a fucking month to give me my money. So now that you burnt this bridge, I think I got a little burning to do myself.
Jake Crist would do something I don't think I've ever heard of a wrestler doing when a promoter has screwed them over. He went to a spot under a bridge where he would like to cut promos, brought the world and junior heavyweight championships for IWA Mid-South, and set those sons of bitches on fire for the whole world to see. The closest thing I could probably think of that resembles something like this is when Medusa appeared on WCW and threw away the WWF Women's title on national TV. While more people know about that and is one of the most infamous moments in wrestling history, I think what Jake did here is a much stronger call to action comparatively. In immediate response to this, in the copious amounts of negative backlash IWA had gotten from the internet at this stage, Ian Rodden would cancel all upcoming shows for the promotion the day after Jake's video hit the internet, and IWA Mid-South has not run a show to this very day. The two reasons why I think they haven't is obviously because of this and the industry having quite enough of Ian's bullshit, but also because I genuinely don't think Ian can afford to replace the titles with new versions. Like, they could revamp the promotion, but imagine being the poor schmucks winning a title that you can't even physically hold. Ian would break his silence of over a year, appearing on a podcast in November of 2023, basically stating how he was one of the only people in wrestling to give Jake a fair shake following his brother's involvement in the speaking out movement, as other promoters would not even look in Jake's direction, according to Ian. Ian also blamed his girlfriend or wife or whatever the fuck she has the misfortune of meaning to Ian Rodden for not paying the wrestlers on time. He would also claim that every interaction Jake had with Ian would be through his girlfriend texting Jake using Ian's phone. I'm not going to detail every single thing that was said in here because it's a waste of my time to read it and it's a waste of your time to hear it, but it was just more whining and excuses from this man as usual. I try to be as impartial as possible during these videos for the most part, but Jesus Christ, I don't think I've ever seen this much of a fucking loser cocksucker be a part of pro wrestling during my 15 years of watching or even being a part of the industry. It's fucking pathetic, and I'm glad people have finally moved on from the need of IWA Mid-South, because you can easily get a better deathmatch product from companies like GCW or Matt Tremont's H2O promotion. Jake still wrestles all over the independents, and as of this year, he is signed to MLW as a singles wrestler and has been making appearances for them since as of February. He's also made a handful of appearances for Impact throughout 2021 to 2023 and some one-offs, but he's never made his full-time return to the promotion. You could definitely say that Jake took a very unnecessary risk trusting Ian, whilst knowing very well of his abysmal reputation, but I think this was very warranted considering all the wrong in this industry that Ian's perpetrated. This isn't even top 10 worst things that Ian's done in the business, maybe even not top 50 or 100. Jake knew what he was getting himself into and warned Ian, and Jake did not bluff. He has saved us from IWA ever rearing his ugly head ever again, and I will personally be in debt to Jake Crist for saving me from seeing this bullshit promotion probably the rest of my lifetime. I don't know, maybe Ian Rodden IV will relaunch the promotion when I die, but that's something my bloodline will have to worry about. But yeah, that was Jake Crist in the day that IWA Mid-South died. What did you think? Feel free to let me know down in the comments what you thought about this video, as I look for all feedback, positive or negative. If you did enjoy it, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already so you do not miss out on any future videos. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace out.